Welcome to this week's edition of The Heart of the Mule, presented by Taylor Industries, underneath the Taylor Industries canopy. Sitting alongside here with sophomore forward Michaela Modiri. Michaela, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And let's just go ahead and get started with the faith side of things and just kind of talk about how you came to your relationship with Christ.
Well, my story just really probably begins a lot with my older sister, who just really had a huge influence on my faith life. Just growing up, we went to church every once in a while, but it really wasn't a regular thing until my sister went off to college and she got involved with campus ministry there. And there was some girls older than her in her sorority who really impacted her life a lot. And then she ended up going to a summer project, and just when she got back, I could just really tell that her life had been changed and the things she was living for was a lot different. And then she just kind of started sharing that side of her life with me, and I just really started to desire that for myself. And so then high school was just a process of me kind of investigating like what it would look like to have a relationship with Christ, and I was able to get involved with FCA and Young Life in high school. That really helped me understand more what that looked like. And then it was really just a process of my sister continuing to have conversations about who God was with me. And then just the summer before my senior year, I eventually made that decision to follow Christ and just go all in, because I just finally understood just my need and how I really needed Christ, just to have that relationship with God, and how I just wasn't gonna be able to do it on my own.
Certainly, being a younger sibling like I am myself, I definitely pride myself after my older brother, so I can definitely see the resemblance there and know how you feel. How are you able to balance not only your faith side of things, but also with the sport of soccer?
Well, it was an interesting transition for me, because I'd obviously been playing soccer longer than I'd been following Christ when that happened for my senior year. So for me, it was a lot of just looking at soccer through the lens of just Christ and saying, well, I made the decision to make Christ the center of my life, so then what does that make soccer to me? Soccer used to be my number one priority, but when I made the decision to put faith first, then I was saying, okay, well, then this is going to be to the glory of God, instead of just saying, okay, I'm playing for my own glory because I want to be the best player out there. But then that became, okay, this is a gift that God has given me, and how can I glorify Him through it? And so I just try and keep that attitude through my sport.
And how has that transition, was it hard to adjust to it at first, or was it something that just kind of came with ease with time?
Yeah, maybe it was a little harder to adjust at first, but I don't know, really just when you make the decision to accept Christ in your heart, just like 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, you become a new creation. And so really God just gives you a whole new set of desires and things in your heart. And so a lot of it was that part, but there were some habits that I had made that I had to adjust in playing. Some of it was just having a positive attitude and continuing to encourage my teammates when sometimes things weren't going so well.
And obviously, being here at UCM, not only are you on the pitch every day for practice and stuff, but you also have to balance your schoolwork as well. And being a nursing major, that's certainly a hard major here at UCM to balance there. How are you able to do that with your rigorous stuff on the pitch?
Well, it's definitely a lot of work, but I really enjoy all of it. So for me, I've really had to learn time management, just because there's a lot of things that I have chosen to devote my time to, like FCA and just my personal spiritual journey. So for me, a lot of it has just come down to planning. I'm not a planner by nature, but I really had to take some time out of my schedule to sit down and write in, okay, this is when my practice is going to be every day, then these are the ministry events I'm going to commit to, and then this is when I'm going to get my personal time with God. Just write that in my planner and just really schedule all that time, and then obviously my class time, and then when I'm going to be studying and things like that. So
yeah, and just you listing off those things, just kind of can only imagine how much of a stress that puts on you as not only a soccer player, but as a person and a academia pursuer. But what was some time that your faith has really been tested as far as with juggling all this stuff that you have going on?
Yeah, man, there's been a lot of times. I think probably one of the biggest times was just my freshman year. Just coming into UCM was a really new place for me. I'm not from too far from here, but just a lot of people from my area tend to go to schools closer to my home in Kansas. So I really didn't know like hardly anyone here, and I knew 2 girls coming in who I'd played club with, and so it just really took me a while to make some really close friendships here. And the soccer schedule is just really hard for me to adjust to, as well as just getting used to the swing of college classes being so different from high school. So I think that was a really hard time for me to just really transition all my life and then not having my family close. And so I think that was like one of the first times I was really struggling with my faith, just wondering if this was like the place that I was really supposed to be. My soccer season, I didn't feel like it was going as well as it could have been. So I was just really questioning God a lot in those things, but it was just really cool because through like some prayer and the time that I did like spend just asking him like, God, is this where you want me? Like, please give me a sign and things. It was just really cool to see like his sovereignty and his plan in that. And I got to see like that develop in the spring semester of last year when I just was eventually led to FCA and just really made a lot of close friendships that are just centered around Christ there.
What's one of the greatest strengths that you find with your relationship through Christ?
One of the greatest strengths, I would say hopefully just like consistency in Christ. That's one of my favorite things about who he is that he's always going to be there. I feel like there's so many people in our lives that maybe will be there for a season or moving in or moving out, and it's just, you can't always depend on everyone, but just the fact that Christ is always there. So then like my part of my relationship with him is saying, okay, then I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to keep that same consistency and try and be doing things like reading my Bible and praying every day so that I can just maximize that.
And you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier about your older sister being someone who really influenced you as far as your spiritual practices. Can you think of somebody else in mind that has really helped you with your spiritual growth?
Yeah, man, there's been a number of people. So one of the other people early on in my walk was one of my young life leaders. Her name was Katie Melcher, and she just really helped me look to see what that looked like. She was a teacher at the time also, so it was really cool to get to see her share her faith with her students, and so she impacted me a lot. And then I attended a summer project last summer called Kaleo, and they had an incredible staff there, and there was a girl named Jessie Lynn, and she really spent a lot of time with me. And she actually she lives in Columbia, but she made the drive out here once a week for like the majority of last semester to meet with me, and just really continue encouraging me to like stay faithful in my walk and just continue pursuing Christ and just to share my faith with other people. So
certainly sounds like you've had a lot of people in your circle that have really helped you along. Absolutely. And just to finish off things here on the faith side, you have your Bible there.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead and tell us your favorite verse, and then read it for us, and then just kind of tell us what it means to you.
Okay, great. Flip to it real quick. Okay, so my favorite verse is 2 Timothy 1:7, and it says, "For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline." And so this verse is one of my favorites just because I think it's a really good reminder to be bold. And I think that's something a lot of Christians struggle with, especially in the aspect of sharing your faith. So this is just a reminder to me that it says the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid. So that means anytime we're timid, that's coming from ourselves and that's not from God. And so that's just a part of our flesh that we need to fight and just focus on the part that he did give us. That's power, love, and self-discipline. And I think self-discipline is another huge thing that sometimes we battle with. Sometimes it's not easy to, like, you have a ton of homework and practice and all these other things. Sometimes it's not easy to set aside time or extended time to spend with God, but just remembering, okay, this is what God gave me, and just thinking about just some of the other things that verse says. I think it's just great, remembering to love others and things like that.
Yeah, trying to kind of keeping that all consistent in your life, and really being able to take God's words and be able to share them to the world. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be right back after this. We're going to talk more about the athletic side of Michaela Modiri right here on this pitch. Don't go away. This is this week's edition of the Heart of the Mule presented by Taylor Industries. We'll be right back after this.
I choose excitement.
I choose to make a difference.
I choose uncommon opportunities.
I choose red to experience learning to a greater degree.
Choose red. Choose the University of Central Missouri.
Welcome to Taylor Tidbits here, presented by Taylor Industries. I'm sitting alongside here with founder and CEO of Taylor Industries, Mike Ballard. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, good to be here.
Absolutely, and go ahead and just tell us a little bit about what Taylor Industries is and what kind of services and products you provide.
Taylor Industries is a manufacturer of medical products. Our main thing that we do here in this facility is ECG electrodes, which are used to monitor your heartbeat. If you're ever in a hospital, or say they do a stress test on you on a treadmill, they're going to have them on you to monitor your heart. We also manufacture TENS electrodes for nerve stimulating, and we custom build machinery to do different things.
Kind of talking a little bit, obviously the Heisman Trophy just happened, Heisman Trophy ceremony. Derrick Henry, running back from Alabama, just won. How does he compare with some of the other running backs that have kind of come through the years, like a Mark Ingram or a Eddie Lacy?
I guess the one that I think of most is a running back that was called Johnny Musso. Johnny was an incredible guy to watch. He wore the jersey 22, which I do believe Ingram wore that same jersey. I was hoping they would retire that jersey, but they didn't. Derrick is an incredible young man. When you saw him, I don't know if you saw it, but I got to watch it after the fact, but his speech he gave, I don't know how many times during that speech he gave credit to God. Obviously a strong young man in his faith. When he talked to the kids in this country, he told them he hoped he could be someone they could look up to, and to always keep God first and pray. And he dreamed as a kid to have that Heisman Trophy, and he kept his focus and worked hard. That's the thing. God's not going to hand you something unless you're willing to work for it. We're called to work hard and to do our best. And, so he's done that.
This is Mike Ballard, the founder and CEO of Taylor Industries. This has been Taylor Tidbits.
I choose to be a champion.
I choose to be inspired.
I choose the perfect fit.
I choose red to experience learning to a greater degree.
Choose red. Choose the University of Central Missouri.
Hi, I'm Jason Ketz, and thanks for watching this week's edition of The Heart of the Mule, presented by Taylor Industries. If you or someone you know would like to be on the show, email us at theheartofthemule@gmail.com. Welcome back to this week's edition of The Heart of the Mule, presented by Taylor Industries, underneath the Taylor Industries tent. We're out here at the South Recreational Complex, where this is home to Jenny Soccer. And hey, speaking of Jenny Soccer, joined now by sophomore forward number 2, Michaela Mudiri. And Michaela, we were talking off camera a little bit about how, you guys have been in your preseason training now going into your junior season. Unfortunately, your season ended here this past time against Grand Valley State. Just, from the moment that game ended to now, how hard has this team worked to be able to get back into a position where they can be in the deep run in the tournament again?
I think it's just really been we've been going at it really hard. So we had a nice couple weeks off after that loss for last semester, and I think the girls just took advantage of getting that time to rest. But I know for me and a few other girls who live in my area, we were in the gym almost every day over winter break, just to keep that training up, be fit to come into this off-season training. So we got the first week off, and we've been in the weight room, on the field, just running, trying to get our conditioning up and our strength up, just because the next time we come head-to-head with them, we want to come out on top.
And again, you're originally from Shawnee Mission, Kansas, Shawnee Mission Northwest High School, so
Yeah.
you're from the Kansas City area. Just talk about, your overall high school career, 4-year letter winner in soccer. Sophomore season, you were second team All Sunflower, which is the conference that you played in. Junior and senior year, first team All Sunflower, second team All State. Just kind of talk about your high school soccer career and kind of the lasting memories you have from it.
Yeah, wow. Well, I mean, when I was growing up, varsity soccer was what it was all about for me, and so I had several friends who were playing club and things like that, but my parents just didn't think that was the best way for me to go. But I finally convinced them in middle school, and so I think I was kind of a later bloomer in that aspect. So I was almost kind of like the underdog coming into high school soccer. When we were freshmen, there was several other girls who had been playing club for a really long time, and they had older sisters who had been through playing soccer, and so they kind of knew the ropes. And so I think, it was kind of unexpected, honestly, for me to make the varsity team. I still was pretty rough around the edges, but I had the heart and I had the speed, I think. So my freshman year was just a lot of fun. I just remember being so nervous before every game, but I think it was kind of maybe like halfway through the season or 3/4 of the way through the season, I earned a starting spot as forward. So that was really exciting for me, and then just got to learn a lot from the older girls, and it was just a different level of competition than I ever got to experience, just playing with like seniors and juniors who are just much bigger and much more experienced. And then I think I just got to build on that every year following that time. We had some formation changes, but it was just really fun, and I think some of those girls are just going to be friends for life. And I know, so in my grade there was 3 other girls who actually ended up signing to play college soccer as well. So that was a really good core group that we got to have that just kept the competition level just really high. And I actually got to be co-captain with 2 of them my senior year, so that was a blast, just getting to lead the team and just getting to impact them in that way.
And coming out of high school, obviously you had a very good high school soccer career, so I'm sure there were several schools that were coming after you as far as recruiting wise. Talk about that recruiting process and what made you ultimately decide to come here to UCM?
Wow. So yeah, recruiting is kind of a hard process. For me, it was actually a little later that I decided to officially go for college soccer. I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to do, because my sister went to a bigger school and loved it, and so I was just kind of going back and forth. So it was honestly kind of later in the game for me that I decided I want to go for that. My first college offers were coming in when I switched to that new team, and we after we had won state cup and got to go on to regionals the summer after my sophomore year of high school. So I was kind of getting some offers then, and I was like, I don't even know what do you do, and there's so many rules about how you can contact them and just the things you can talk about with those coaches. So I just really wasn't sure how to go about any of it. So I just really didn't end up following up on any of those contacts that coaches had made then. It wasn't until maybe halfway through my junior year that I decided, okay, I think I'm going to go for this. So I mean, a lot of colleges are already have a lot of their recruits, so it was pretty late in the game. But I went on a few visits before coming to UCM, and everything just seemed right. It was about the size of school I was looking for. I didn't want to go anywhere too small, so I had set kind of a 10,000 person minimum. And so UCM was one of the only schools that was D2 in the area that was going to be close to home that was fitting that. Mm-hmm. And I'd already heard a lot about it from a couple of my friends who I said had already committed here. And I talked to the coach, Lewis, and I just could tell he really knew soccer, and the program had seen a lot of success. I just also I could tell that it was going to be a tight-knit community just among all of athletics, and there was going to be just a lot more opportunities for me here, and they had nursing, the major I was interested in, and so it was just a perfect fit for me. Everything just came together when I came to campus.
Now, when you first stepped on campus, and you probably came here in August just because getting ready for that soccer season. What was the biggest transition from high school days, not only on the soccer field, but on just the personal aspects of being on your own for the first time?
Yeah, I think there was a lot to transition from. I think just being on that personal schedule of, okay, these are going to be my classes, this is going to be my soccer time, and then just trying to figure out, okay, how much downtime do I have like in between things? And then also, and I think this is kind of silly, but like one of the biggest things I really had to start thinking about was just when I was going to eat my meals. I think that it's something that comes like at home. When I was living at home, you have lunch built into your day at school, and then you come home. We always had family dinners, and then my mom would usually make me breakfast in the morning, and she also made my lunch, and I packed my lunch and took it to school. So I think it was honestly something that's just kind of silly that you just I would have never thought about would be such a big deal to me, but I had to start like thinking about, okay, now I need to go to the cafeteria and eat lunch. I can't just go to practice without eating anything, and so that was just sort of like a funny thing. And then also laundry.
Yeah.
That was a hard one for me. It took me a while to get into that swing.
Yeah, had you done your laundry before you came to college?
Like a few times, very few times. I have a very good mom, and she loves me well. She always did my laundry.
Shout out to Susie Modiri there.
Exactly.
In your first year on the pitch, was a pretty good one for you, if I could say so myself, right? You appeared in 22 of 24 games. You had 8 goals, 3 assists. You had 19 points. You were 4th on the team in goals scored and points. Plus, you had 3 game-winning goals, including an overtime one against top-ranked Minnesota State. Pretty good, successful freshman campaign, if I say so, right?
Yeah, it was a good season. It was like a hard season, just transitioning with everything, and I think just the emotions of it all were just a lot, but it was a really fun year. I was having a little bit of problems with my calves that year, so I felt like that was like holding me back a little bit, but it ended up still being a great season, and I was playing wide mid actually, and so that was a position that I was a little more unfamiliar with, but then I got to play a little bit up top too, so it was a fun year.
Kind of transition, because I know, and especially in soccer, if you're a forward like you were, kind of transitioning back to that mid and having to, kind of play back on defense a little bit more. Was that more of a transition? Had you played it before?
So actually my freshman year, our system was a little different. We only had 3 defenders. So being a wide mid and only having 3 defenders, that really amped up the defensive responsibility a lot. And so I had played wide mid a little bit in a system where we had 4 backs. And so that was kind of like covering the forward to midfield, but not having to go all the way back. And so with having 3 backs, that really made an impact, and you kind of had to drop all the way back to help out. And so that was really a hard transition for me.
And even though you were more of a mid in that final game of the season against Grand Valley State, who ended up winning their 2nd national championship, you were the one that scored that lone goal in that game. Talk about that game and just what you kind of remember from it.
First of all, it was freezing cold. We were up in Wisconsin, and the ground was frozen. We were running around for our warm-up laps, and we could hear our cleats like clicking on it, like it sounded like high heels or something. It was so loud because the dirt was just solid. And so we were almost like skidding around a little bit because you couldn't get any traction because your studs weren't digging in. And so I'll always remember that part of that game. And we were really down. We had like a couple players hurt. Megan Woolley was out with a concussion. And I think we only had 1 sub, and my calves were getting really bad at that point, and that was just making endurance and like long runs really difficult for me. So I just remember the first half just really struggling with that. And so that's actually, I think, one of the reasons why my coach had to switch me to play forward in the second half, because I was in so much pain having to make those distance runs up and down the field. So we were just really struggling, and I think we were all just tired and feeling the season of just having such a short roster that year was really starting to wear down on us. And Grand Valley had just a huge bench, and so they were just bringing girls in, and we just didn't have that. So I think that it was just the entire season wearing down at us, that we were just, you could tell that I don't think there was any players on our team that were really like 100% healthy, just because of the hours we'd been playing that entire season that a lot of teams hadn't had to face. So, but yeah, that last goal was, I really was pretty shocked when it went in. I think I won the ball off of, I don't know how, it's all a blur to me now, as it usually is after goals, but I just remember getting the ball, turning and shooting, because thinking that might be one of my only chances to get a shot on goal, and it just dipped over the goalie's head and went in, and so I was really happy with that.
And certainly after that, after your freshman season and preparing for your sophomore, you knew that a lot of the team was coming back. You knew that, you know, all the pieces were in place to make another deep run like you did, you know, this season. Just talk about the momentum that you guys were able to build up in that off season going into your sophomore season.
Yeah, I think our coach did a really good job of just implanting that mindset into us, and just talking about how we really were going to have a target on our back this year, coming into this year, and things like that. Just because just that Elite Eight was the farthest that the team had ever made it up until that point. So he was saying that, you know, we don't want this to be a one-time thing. We're going to start pushing through, and then we're going to make it to the Final Four and stuff like that. So I think it was just a lot of him, and just he was continually talking about what to expect in the fall, just how all the teams around us were really going to be just really chasing after us, and like no one wants us to win. We won a lot of just conference titles as well, and so everyone's tired of that. So really it could be any year that just the other teams would just come back and we wouldn't even make another appearance. Like, we're not guaranteed that. It's one of the things he kept saying, like, we're not guaranteed a trip to the national tournament, even though we've been going for so long. Like, nothing's guaranteed for us, so we still have to work. And then just in the fact that there was such a big freshman class that came in this year, he really used that a lot just to motivate us to continue working hard and fighting for that.
Yeah, and you know, coming into that sophomore season, again, team goes 21-2-1 overall. Played in all 24 games this year, 7 goals and 14 points. I thought one of the big things, being from the, you know, kind of the faith thing, you know, of being able to control yourself, conduct yourself. No yellow cards, no red cards. So good job on you for that.
Thank you.
And then also another 2 game-winning goals as well. Talk about just your sophomore season overall, and what do you look forward to in your next 2 years?
Yeah, so sophomore season was a fun one. I think in some ways there's a little less pressure just because we did have some subs and we are all more experienced. I know last year a lot of the freshman class started, and so that was pretty, like, just a lot of pressure because, you know, this first college game and you're starting and everything like that. And so really a lot was riding on us as a freshman class, and just for the whole team as well. But I think it was just an added pressure that we were freshmen and we didn't exactly feel comfortable and know what we were doing. So I think there's just a little more comfort in that coming back sophomore year, and just that we returned nearly all of our players. But yeah, it was fun, and I got to play forward, which was kind of more of a natural position for me, and so I really enjoyed that. And just that a lot of girls got to contribute this year, I think was really fun. That just came from a variety of players, and yeah, so I just got to be up top, which is just the best for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we will continue to see your career. It's only just beginning here. Again, Michaela Mudiri, number 2, Jenny's soccer player forward. This has been this week's edition of the Heart of the Mule, presented by Taylor Industries. I'm your host, Jason Ketz, from the South Recreation Complex here on the campus of the University of Central Missouri. Have a good weekend, everybody, and we'll see you back next week. Hi, I'm Jason Ketz, and thanks for watching this week's edition of the Heart of the Mule, presented by Taylor Industries. If you or someone you know would like to be on the show, email us at theheartofthemule@gmail.com.